everybody. Not sure when the video ends, but I'm going to kill it right there. Hope you're all having a good start to your day. We hit a new all-time high on Bitcoin over the weekend, and it looks like we're pushing up against that ceiling again today. If you look in the bottom right corner over here, you will see that we will start to hit a ceiling, most likely around the 130,000 range. Now, if we break above that, out of this megaphone pattern that we see down below, I think that it's going to be a quick run to 148K. If that happens, we're going to see a lot of bullish sentiment return to Bitcoin in the crypto market as people realize that 148 probably isn't the top. So that's when things should get really exciting. That is how the parabola works this time of year. We're going to start off listening to Tom Lee in an interview with CNBC talking about financials and fintech have tailwinds behind them. 1 second here.
Contributor Tom, good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning. Good to see you.
All right. So, Tom, we said this a bunch of times. The market seemed to be shrugging off the shutdown, valuation concerns. What do you think is going on? Why do investors just continue to feel confidence?
Well, Frank, I think there's two underlying fundamental drivers for the economy. One is that we know there's a tremendous CapEx tailwind from AI. And the second is that the Fed's been on hold for 9 months, and it's kept the ISM below 50 for now 31 months, and the Fed's dovish. So that's the rest of the economy getting basically a lifeline. Those are going to be powerful tailwinds that even a government shutdown doesn't really change the story around. And now that we're in the seasonally strong fourth quarter, and valuations, I just don't think are that demanding because, NVIDIA is still at 26 times earnings. I mean, I think stocks still have a lot of upside into year end.
All right, really quick. You're talking about ISM manufacturing, right? Still in contraction. You're saying the Federal Reserve rate cuts, if we stay on this path, that boosts the manufacturing sector. Is that the point you're trying to get to?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
So the manufacturing sector has been cautious for 31 months, the longest stretch below 50 in history. And, that's business confidence. It's highly correlated with earnings growth. So I think once that moves above 50, that means we're back in expansion mode.
I 100% agree. Almost 3 years of contraction in the manufacturing sector. And once it goes positive again, it's game on. I 100% agree with that.
And it's good for financials and small caps, and the tech trade continues. So I think it's a broad-based rally.
I think a lot of people think it would be good for transports, energy prices. I think, as you mentioned, it would have impacts across the board if we see a boost in U.S. manufacturing. Okay, I want to get to your word of the day. It's dovish. Now, this is interesting. Your word's dovish, and you're dovish because the Fed didn't get the jobs report and might not get other reports. Why are you dovish, or you think the Fed's dovish, despite that critical information?
Well, the Fed has, I think, on balance, has to be more dovish than what they said they would be last month because the government shutdown, as you know, disrupts economic activity. So even though they're not getting reports, there's also a standstill in GDP, and the government is a very large share of GDP. On top of that, it causes confidence to be weaker. A shutdown makes people nervous, and so the Fed will have to be even more dovish, and I think that's why stocks can rally even more than they have already.
All right, you're also looking at seasonality. You alluded to it earlier. According to your data, since 1950 in Q4, we see just about an average rise of about 5%. But when we're talking about seasonality, are you sure this isn't an outlier year? As we mentioned, a government shutdown, companies trying to deal with tariffs.
If it's an outlier year, it's even more positive because of all the things that we have behind it.
We're seeing a trade war between the U.S. and China continue. It hasn't quite been resolved yet. I mean, aren't there some issues that could maybe shake the seasonality here?
Yes, that's right. I mean, seasonality is just a base case, so things can make it different. But this year, we're going into the fourth quarter where sentiment, I think, is still really muted. If you look at things like AAII net bulls, it's barely positive. After a 30% rally in stocks, historically, you'd be solidly positive on a 20-week moving average of that number. Investors have really been skeptical this entire rally. Yeah. That's why we call it the most hated V-shaped rally.
All right, I'm going to get...
Oh, it's so beautifully hated.
To your pick as well. Your pick for us today is financials. Now, is this on the idea that the Fed is dovish, rate cuts help, boost the yield curve, and that helps financials, or is there some other reason that you're saying that you would put money into financials right now ahead of earnings?
Well, I think financials have also fundamental tailwinds because we know the Fed is going to be dovish, which is helpful for economic activity. But on top of that, AI is a tool that the financials industry can leverage. It's going to help them root out fraud. It's going to help make their businesses more profitable. And it's something we've talked about at Fundstrat, which is the financials may end up getting technology valuations, especially given blockchain and moving from traditional financial rails onto blockchain and becoming more efficient.
All right. You're also a big believer in Ether. So you're saying financials companies, especially, you say, are building on Ether. Is that a tailwind somehow? The fact that they're building? Oh, sorry. Did I cut you off?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely, Frank. Keep in mind, Exhibit A in all this is Tether. It's the largest stable coin issuer in the world. It's valued at $500 billion, or about 25 times earnings. It makes it the second largest bank in the world behind JP Morgan. And it shows you that by building on the blockchain,
and the highest private market company in the world,
a business can really
I believe,
reduce cost and be a lot less employee intensive. Tether only has 300 employees compared to JP Morgan, which has 313,000 employees. So Tether's valued at around 1.8 billion per employee. JP Morgan around 2.6.
Okay.
So you can see the leverage coming from Ethereum.
All right. Tom, I also want to mention you're the chairman of BitMine Emerging Technologies, a company that's trying to build an Ethereum treasury. So
up almost 4.5% on the day.
You do have some bias when it comes to Ethereum. Your pick for us today, financials. Always great to see you. Thank you very much.
All right. Great interview from Tom Lee, just talking about all the tailwinds that we have behind us. Speaking of tailwinds, Geiger Capital said Japan's Nikkei up 4% to record high. Why is it up 4%? It's up 4% because they elected a new prime minister, and she is about as Trump as anybody can get. She's pro-growth, anti-immigration, wants to see the Japanese economy thriving again. And so their stock market is going gangbusters, looking at another person that's going to be like Trump running a major economy on Earth. So that's beautiful. It's what we want to see. Also, Ming Hu posted, this graph shows the higher the economic freedom, the higher the income of the poorest 10% of the population. So again, it helps to be a democracy. It helps to embrace capitalism. There's some on this chart that have additional bonuses behind them as far as like natural resources and other things that help them fly. But again, if you look here, the richest bottom 10% of wealth is concentrated in countries like the United States, Canada, Germany, Switzerland, Norway. Again, countries that are all democratic and have capitalism inspired behind them, even though some of these European ones, again, have different boosters behind it. But and Canada has things like never having to worry about war or a military because they've got the United States sitting underneath of them. There's just been a lot of little bonus information. But again, if you look at Russia, you look at China, they're way down at the bottom of this list. The bottom 10% do really, really poorly. Yeah, if you guys could like the video, that would be great. And it would suck to be sidelined right now. I 100% agree. That would not be a lot of fun. I put good on this post. This is from Peter. He said valuations remain a long-term headwind for the U.S. dollar, basically saying that it's going to be pulled down, which, again, is exactly what this government wants. Charlie Balelo, hopefully I said that right, the S&P 500 has posted a positive return during the last 6 government shutdowns and is up 0.4% during the current shutdown, hitting 3 or more all-time highs this week. So again, it's showing that the government shutdowns are not a bad thing. If anything, they're a contrarian indicator, and they do the opposite. Mike posted the U.S. is underperforming ex-U.S. stocks in the last 3 years if you remove NVIDIA, basically saying that NVIDIA was pulling up our entire S&P 500 and that we're underperforming the rest of the world if you subtract it out. And I 100% agree. And here they just show Europe and Japan outperforming the U.S. stock market when you subtract NVIDIA. I actually think we're going to have a great rotation into the United States again because I think U.S. exceptionalism is going to be very clear. There was a video this weekend that I listened to with Kathy Wood talking about how she's traveling all over the world and how she couldn't believe how bearish the sentiment was in the United States. A lot of other countries, especially in Europe and other parts of the world, they have TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, very badly. And they think from all the news that they see, which is even worse than the news in the United States, it's probably like 95% bias in most of Europe. It shows that the U.S. is falling apart and it's deteriorating and there's nothing good ever coming out of it again. So what happens when these other countries start to realize that the United States is actually getting ready to balloon higher. I think that there's a great rotation coming back into the U.S. stock market, one that we have not seen yet, but we will see soon enough. Mike posted small cap earnings growth is now positive, expected to eclipse large cap earnings growth in the second half of 2025 and 2026. So again, if you look over here, you can see how small caps were just suffering. They did really bad into 2022, 2023. They didn't really recover. If you look here in blue, they were still negative into the early parts of 2025. And the large caps were just very strong around that same time frame in orange here. But again, dark blue is looking very strong right now. It's beating mid caps even. And so I think we're finally going to start to see some of that rotation that Tom Lee was talking about, where we see a broadening of markets, maybe from large cap into mid and smalls, which has been very unappreciated. If you look at small caps going all the way back to 2006, you can see that this is over 20 years. You can see that small caps have been destroyed since that time frame. So since the great financial crisis, really, a little bit before that, it's just been a downhill trip the entire time. And what I think is going to be interesting about this is I think one of the main benefactors of artificial intelligence and increased efficiency and being able to operate like a big company, but with small company, with a small company, footprint where you just have like a dozen employees or maybe 50 or 100, I think you're going to be able to compete soon on a very massive scale. And so I think small caps could really come around. AMD, yeah, AMD's done really good. You have leaps. You have June 2026 calls that are up 200%. I think a 25% in the underlying will definitely help you out. That's awesome to hear, MB. I'm glad you're slugging it out of the park this morning. Raised up to 30% of my portfolio. If it were you, would you sell today? Well, let's look at AMD after we get done with a bunch of stuff and we start looking at tickers. Let's pull up AMD and I'll give you a better indication, at least from a technical standpoint. It probably will. I mean, it's up 25% in pre-market. My guess would be that rolls over at some point to just kind of make that gap a little bit smaller, because it's going to be a huge gap from a technical perspective. But who knows, man? Things can get really fucking crazy right now. We are definitely in that time frame. I also wanted to point out, again, this is about the poorest of our communities, right? The bottom 50% of households by wealth own way more stocks today versus 2010, says Citadel Rubner. So if you look over here, guys, since the pandemic, you can see that the poorer amongst us are doing really good. They had less than $200 billion before the pandemic sitting in investments, and now they're sitting closer to $600 billion. So that's a 3x in return for the bottom 50% of households by wealth, with just the amount that they're holding in the stock market. So this is a good thing. They're actually starting to benefit. Some of these people have probably been listening to people like me that are telling them they're getting poor by not owning stocks, and they're starting to purchase them. And I love to see that. I think that's really beautiful. Stefan, thank you for becoming a member. You can talk and chat now. It looks like you are. Hey, everyone. Metaplanet gives me pain. Should I hold or rotate into something with more momentum? It's up to you, man. There's a lot of people that will be impatient in moving into other things, and I get it. I get it. I didn't think that Bitcoin miners would be going first, but I mean, after CleanSpark was up 5.3% on Friday, now it's up 4.5% today. So, and then Mara's up 3.51, and Bitfarms is up 7.64, and Iron's up 6.62, and looking like it still wants to scream higher. So I get the impatience. I'm not selling. I'm still holding on to mine. I don't have a ton in Metaplanet. I've only got like 80K or 100K or something. And then I have more in the Smarter Web Company, which just purchased more Bitcoin today. But I diversify into a bunch of different plays. I've got a bunch of calls. I don't even know how many calls I've got on Bitcoin miners. It's a stupid amount. It's probably over 10,000. Could be 15 now. I'm not even sure. So let me see. Can I even pull up Ally this morning? Is Ally working? Let me see. But I have a lot of leaps in miners. So I'm benefiting a lot from that today. I'm benefiting from Bitminer today, which is up 4.3%. I am not benefiting from SOLT, which is flat on the day after being up 0.18% last week. But and again, Bitcoin miners aren't really doing much of anything today. I'm benefiting again today though from ARKG, which is also breaking out. So there's a lot of good, I think, right now, and it depends on how you're diversified. If you're all in Bitcoin miners, your life probably sucks right now. Yeah, I can't believe that CleanSpark is finally pumping, right? And here's the thing: they've got the narrative behind them of switching into an HPC play, which I think is going to be a really positive thing for them. And they're probably one of the cleanest Bitcoin miner plays. So they have a lot of good stuff. I did want to talk about this though. So this is kind of a negative and maybe something to be a little scared of. Average call volumes over the last 4 weeks explode to more than 40 million contracts, the highest level in history. You can see how this changed after the pandemic in a drastic way. And don't get me wrong, put volume is still also high, but options are on overdrive right now. When you look at call option volume going all the way up into the pandemic, and then afterwards, it's fucking insane. I think that at some point, we are going to have a retracement in markets of at least 20 to 30% across the S&P and the NASDAQ. And it will be due. I want to say this real quick, and then I'll look at chat and get caught up in comments. It will be due, right? So we called the bottom pretty well. I didn't get to capitalize on it as well as I would have hoped because, again, just owning the wrong things at the wrong times. But that happens to everybody. If you're new to markets, that's just a normal thing. You will never be like at the top of the tier all the time. It just doesn't work that way. But so going back to the S&P to the bottom of the great financial crisis to now, you can see how there's a really clear range, right, of support on the bottom end. This one overshot badly. This is actually at the pandemic. People got super scared. Look at the volume on that. Beautiful bottom, right? But people got super scared. You overshot the range on the bottom end. But if you look at the top end, you look at the midline, and you look at the bottom area of support, you can see how it's almost perfectly represented. It was represented here. We wicked underneath of it, but that was literally one month where we had wicked underneath, and then it was like a rocket ship to the moon. Same kind of thing over here and in April of 2025 with the tariff-related news. But what I wanted to show here is the midline was really like support come tariff time, right? But the S&P has a ways to go still. It has the top line, which it has hit a lot. If you look at this consistently, like here, all the time through here, all these months, all the months over here, look at that buildup. Over here, again, many months hitting the top line, and I think we're going to do that again. And this is why I am currently more bullish the S&P than I think Tom Lee, who believes that we can hit 7,000. I actually think we'll hit 7,500 and that could happen over the next several months as we melt up an additional 12% on the S&P from where we are right now. And when that happens, if we get up here, guys, I'm going to be out of a lot of shit. I'm going to be out of a lot of stuff, just so you guys are clear. I believe that there's always market contractions. We'll listen to Peter Thiel? No, Peter Lynch. Yeah, we'll listen to one of the Peters in a little bit, talk about that and how there's always corrections in the market. Right now, we're sitting at 0 of 30 for the Bitcoin indicator. But again, there's a lot of upside potential, guys. Hood is pulling up your portfolio. Everything. So many people are posting their tickers today because so many of them are up. Maximilian, thank you for joining and becoming a member. You can talk in chat now. MB said, regarding miners and given the low is iron peg. Even though it has run so much, it still seems worthy holding it. I actually agree. I think the TA is fucked on it. The TA is fucked on iron, but it doesn't matter. When you're going parabolic, it really doesn't matter. I gave up trying to call the top on this one a while ago. Again, I said if we broke above this channel, we'd go higher. We got above the next fib. I think this thing is going to at least 80. I think that it'll go to 80, and then it'll probably have some parabola. It ain't going to 400. I'm just going to call that right now. But it can totally go to 80, and then it could go higher and get somewhere up here in the hundreds before it drops back down. This is just how it works right now. And the HPC play is such a good play, fundamentally a good play. So I could see it going higher. I agree. I agree. But it is ridiculous. If you look over here, let's just look. What is the RSI at right now? I mean, it's at 92, bro. 92 on a weekly time frame is fucking retarded. There are very few times in life where that will turn out to be a good thing. But again, in the parabola phase, could it go to 100? I mean, I never see 100. I never see 100 ever. But could it? Maybe. Maybe. But I think the other plays are better right now. Cypher, Bitfarms, Clean Spark, maybe Mara. I don't know. I think those are better, especially if you're looking at options plays, because I think they're underloved and they have room to cruise. Like, look at Bitfarms here, guys. It's up 7.31. This looks like it's getting ready to continue some parabola. I probably got to take out a couple of my old ranges here, but it looks good. Tom, thank you for becoming a member. I think like if you're looking at calls on like a Clean Spark or a Mara or Bitfarms or Cypher, any of these other things that maybe haven't run as much, you're probably going to do better. Stubel says, Jesse, where is up here when you want out at 7,500? I don't know what you mean by where is up here. I should be showing my chart up here. Like literally, you can see it right up here. It's the .786 on the fib extension level from drawing the previous low of October of 2022 to the high, to the low again of the tariff-related concerns. The area where you normally get a retracement is the golden retracement zone. That's at the 68.75 level. We could see something temporarily for that, but I think the next level, I think we go to the .786 in this circumstance, which is the upper end of this channel as we melt up into the end of the year. And I just think that this is just an extreme amount of parabola. You can see it kind of over here too. With the pandemic, I just think it could get really fucking crazy, and we could go up to 7,500 between now and the end of the year or beginning of next. I'm pretty sure that's what we're doing. We need an HPC ETF. I mean, the Bitcoin miners are kind of that, or at least you're getting 60% plus that are doing HPC nowadays. What else we got? This BTC AI data center wave is just crazy. If you have the power, it's a beautiful narrative right now. It could change in the future. Will I get back? No, I won't get back into IREN when it's sitting in the 90 RSI level on the weekly time frame. I won't right now. Again, you don't need to chase. You don't need to slug out every single one. I think I made 600% off my calls with IREN. I could have done a lot better if I held them longer, but I'm perfectly good with where I'm at. I've got a shit ton of calls on Clean Spark and Mara. So from the miner front, especially if these things, if Mara gets to, I don't know, the 30s, the 30 to 40 range, 50 maybe, and Clean Spark can do something similar to that, I'm going to make so much fucking money. I'll probably already be at my goal of at least 10 to 12 million just with those plays. And then I've got SMCI calls that have been doing good lately. I've got ARCG calls. I've got so much money in ARCG, guys. I've got $750,000 in ARCG, maybe $800,000 in calls today. Jason Hines, brother, how you doing, man? It says, good morning. I'm still holding all those Clean Spark options that expire in January. When do I liquidate? I think you're coming upon a time where you're going to be able to start just chipping some away. Let me see, what are January's doing right now? I don't have January. I've got November of 2025, and those are up 63%. It's about $500,000 worth, and I think they're going to go higher. Now November is coming up quick, and these are $20 strikes. So I don't know though. I think for me, I'm gonna try and be out of Clean Spark options probably in the 30 range. That's my goal. So I'm hoping to have $3 million maybe by the time that happens. That would be cool. At least maybe at least 2.5. Clean Spark November calls. You trim in at 20-ish. I'll be trimming. I'll probably start in the 20 range. Let me just pull up Clean Spark here real quick, and I'll just kind of show you guys. So especially since we got Jason in here. Yeah, so again, we're getting ready to break out. This is the thing I want to point over here, guys. Clean Spark has been a rocket ship straight up. They've got the Matt Schultz going out to dinner with Mike Alfred. Mike Alfred is the fucking man right now. I was the man for a while. In 2023, I made 600%, so I was the man. Mike Alfred is like me with an order of magnitude greatness right now, maybe two. So when he waves his wand at whatever company, whether it's backed this latest venture or many others, they just go up because they've got his blessing. But we're getting ready to break out. We got 5% more on top of what we've done in pre-market, and we're breaking out of a downtrend on CleanSpark that goes back to 2018 or something. So I think it's a really easy trip to the recent 52-week highs of 24. I will not be trimming a lot. I'll be trimming a little, but I won't be trimming a lot until we get to that level. And then I think, again, once you get to the 30s, at the golden ratio, which I'm still working on that book, so heavy in math, but it's fun to read. This golden retracement zone is a really safe place to get out, and that's another doubling from where we're at. And if you've got options, that is so much fucking money. But I'm making money now, not just this and Mara, and BMNR in a small way because it's only up like 4% today. But I also have ARCG calls, like I was talking about. I've got like $750,000, I think, in ARCG. I might have more. And these are at least a 10x the underlying. What do I mean by that? I mean that if this thing goes up 100%, I make $1,000. I've got $750,000 in calls right now. If you just do some simple math, that tells you that this is a lot of money for me. $7.5 million. This gets me to my goal, guys. I'm done for the year. Just ARC Genomics, and I'm done for the year. And how long are these calls? January of 2026, June of 2026, and January of 2027. And so just with ARCG alone, I could get to my $12 million goal. How fucking cool is that? So, and then I've got CleanSpark calls, and then I've got Mara calls, and then I've got SMCI calls. And then I've got Sequoian calls. I don't know if those will ever be worth anything. They're up worth 20. They were zero. They're worth 20 grand now. I won't tell you how much I put into those. I've got $750,000, $800,000 in Solt. If Solana does the stuff that I can do, I will have more money than I have right now just from that play. So I've got so many different levers in play right now, and I'm ready to capitalize on all of them. And I wouldn't sell CleanSpark too early. Start selling in the 20s. Just nibble at it. And then when it gets to 30s, I try and at least be 75% out. And then if it goes higher, again, just like I take more off aggressively the higher we go. I hope that's helpful. Again, CleanSpark up almost 5%. I'm making 10x that underlying, guys. 10x. Think about that. 10x the underlying I'm making off this motherfucker. Yes, sir. If ARCG just doubles, if it just doubles and gets to that golden retracement zone, I'm worth $7 million in that one play. $7 million. So cool. Again, this is why we like a bunch of different directions. Container ships. Noam, what's up, dude? Knowing that large containers go first, when do you think BTC treasuries start catching up? That's a good question because we're seeing that in MSTR, right? And I talk about this all the time about how large containers absorb the funnel first. And so we're seeing MSTR is finally doing it. So all the pain and suffering, MSTR is like, you know what? It's time to go up. It's time to go up hard. Kind of a textbook move, too. Very similar to a few others that we see from a technical standpoint, but I'll just tell you why. So we're up 22%, and that doesn't sound like a lot, but this thing is a $100 billion market cap, which in crypto terms, for a publicly traded company, is a lot. It's the biggest, right? There ain't nobody this big. So that's cool. But what I wanted to point out here is what you did is you had this bottom range of support, and this is what will happen a lot when something's fundamentally strong. So I'd pretend like this is green, right? And you had this area of support that we overshot to the downside, and then that was just a good fake out, and then it came back up, and now it's just been a rocket ship ever since. I still think that this thing can go up at least 50% and touch its previous high or get close to that, right? Like we could at least do 450. We could maybe do 540. Could we go higher than that? Yes, it's possible. It's possible, but what would that be if we get to this next level here at the 800 range? That would be like a $240 billion market cap, which would make MicroStrategy one of the largest companies on earth. Could that happen? Yes. Will it happen? Is your Cybertruck wrapped? It is actually. Yeah. It's wrapped pretty significantly. I think I have some picture somewhere. I'll post one, and show you. It's kind of like the A-Team van if you're older. You know what that is? It's black with a red stripe going down the side of it. It's got a bunch of modifications to it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I love it. You bought one? Just bought one before the end of the month. Okay, I'm sure it's not the 39th because I know there's not that many days in a month, but that's fucking awesome, dude. You're going to love it. It's such a great vehicle. Steer-by-wire is game-changing. It is so fucking cool, dude. You're gonna love it, and get it wrapped for sure. The stainless steel, it's like having a fridge where you accidentally touch it and you can see your fingerprint on it, but the entire thing is that. And if everybody that walks up to it is just like, they're like, oh, hey, look, it's a Cybertruck. It's a Cybertruck, and you can just see fingerprints everywhere. It'll drive you nuts. Also, when you get it washed, don't get it washed at a place that wipes it physically. You want to have a touchless wash so that you don't scratch it. That's the way to go. And then just use, my microfiber drying cloths. Anyway, we're done. Yeah. So I think MicroStrategy is going up first. Now, when will the others go? I don't know. Narratives shift like the wind. It could be weeks before we start to see, treasury companies take off. All I can tell you is they have bullish divergence that looks really good. Can we have a look at the VIX? I don't really care about the VIX. I do care about the move. We could look at the VIX though. The move is beautiful. We've actually overshot to the downside on our channel, and this is a little off because I'm looking at the 2-month view, but we've overshot to the downside. And when the move is down, and I've talked about this, I did a bunch of posts, guys. So I want to show you a few things here. So if we go back to the 2008 Great Financial Crisis, you can see that when it peaked out, that's where the Great Financial Crisis ended. And then you just had a period of going down for a long time. And we can look at this through different time frames as well. But like that was a huge spike. What did it do? For years, it traded down all the way down to 2013. Then you had a big spike. Then it traded down for what? Almost a couple more years, a year and a half. Then you had a little bit of a spike. Then it traded down for, again, years and years and years. Then you had a spike over here that went high in March of 2020 because of getting shut down. Then it traded down again for years, or at least a year. Before we kind of started to creep up. And the markets were good until 2022. That's where we had another spike. And then we had in March of 2023, when all the banks were collapsing, we had the largest increase since the Great Financial Crisis. And this is the bond volatility index. This is the thing that matters. Bonds move stocks. If you know what's going on in the bond market, you know what's coming for the stock market. That's why I focus on this. Tom Lee was talking about this in a part 2 of a video that he did this weekend, which you guys should definitely catch. AMD up 33% now. MB, congratulations, brother. We'll look at VIX too. That's fucking awesome. But I do have a point here. So we had the second highest fucking wick in the bond volatility index since the Great Financial Crisis. This was worse than the pandemic, and this all happened because people thought the banking system was going to collapse. Well, that didn't happen. We've just been trending down to some beautiful territory. When bond volatility is low, everything is beautiful. The world is fucking beautiful. We had one brief little spike over here in March, April timeframe, where again, people got a little scared about tariffs, but that didn't really do anything. But the trend is going down for years. That's the trend with this thing, right? We even had this in 2003, we had a little bit of a spike, and it just trended down for years and didn't even spike again until the Great Financial Crisis. So I'm saying that could we get another little spike in this? Yes, but I think the trend is down in bond volatility, and if it's down in bond volatility, it's down in stock volatility as well. Even though the stock might hiccup a little more. Let's look at the VIX. Don't forget AI is a bubble. Yeah, I hear that all the time. So here's the VIX volatility index too, which again shows us more of the same thing. This is that pattern actually visualized even better. Let's move it to the 2-month. So what happens when you get huge spikes in the VIX? Like again, there was this 2002 range. It traded down for years, all the way over to 2007, 2008. You got a big spike here in the VIX for the stock market, and again trended down 4 years. Spike years, spike years, spike years, spike years. I know it's unpopular, and I'm not playing this for the crypto Bitcoin space. I'm going to be much more conservative. If I hit $10 million, I'm happy for the year. But I do think there's something to be said for the fact that the VIX could be doing the same thing. And it's got an even cleaner pattern than what I was showing in the bond market, I think. Off grid, what's the strike price? What are we talking about? I might have to get caught up in your chat. But yeah, the S&P guys, I think we're going to 7,500. That is still my call. If I get that, Tom Lee, you better give me credit, motherfucker, because I love you. And you said 7,000. I said 7,500. If I get that motherfucker, you got to say something about it, okay? Yeah, so average call volume high. Underlyings look really good. Let's see here. We got more questions. Can we look at the VIX? It was slowly grinding up since days. The past 2 times it's happened, the past 2 years, we had a VIX pop in a matter of weeks. I didn't look at that, did I? I didn't really look at that. I ignored the rest of your question and just went off on my tirade. Could we have something like that? Maybe. Do I think it matters? No. I think it'll be short-lived. But if I'm you, MB, and I've made 250% on my calls today for AMD, I don't know, man. You might want to trim a little bit, maybe. Not financial advice. The Alfonso said, I have a bunch of Tesla Leaps 330s expiring in January 2027. How would you layer it out? I would honestly, so here's the thing. There's something called intrinsic value and extrinsic value. Some of that value is based on time. Some of that value is based on you hitting the strike, right? And getting above it. Because like if the time runs out, there's extrinsic value, right? That ends up going away when the options expire. You don't have any more of that. That's a premium that people are paying to be right about the timing of this event. Intrinsic value is the actual difference between where you put your strike price and what the stock ended at and how much of a difference that was with the 100 shares you're entitled to for each contract that you own. So like with me, if you've got 10,000 contracts of something, just multiply that times 100 and you own a lot of that, potentially. You don't have to execute on it. I don't know where I was going for this. Oh yeah, January 2027. So you're deep in the money already. If I was you, personally, since we just had a pullback in Tesla, and again, this is not financial advice. These are just my thoughts, right? By the way, does anybody remember how I perfectly called the fucking top on Tesla and told you that the .618 was probably going to be resistance, and then it dropped all the way down to 415? EOC is actually interesting. I'm interested in that. But I would have probably gotten out of my 330 leaps for 2027 up here because again, you're already in the money. I would have probably dialed out to something further out. I would probably dial out if you're going to be in 2027. I'd be in a 577 or like a 570 or something in this range under here, 550 to 570. I would be at least in something like that. Personally, if I'm going out to 2027, I would maybe even go further to like the 600 range, 600 to the 700s. And I would have done that at the bottom here of this recent dip. But I'm not doing leaps. I'm not pushing for that, even though I think Tesla is fucking awesome and it's just breaking out of a trend. So maybe it's all right. MB said, I have sold Tesla 3X last Friday. Still 10% NAV in the stock, though. Okay, cool. Speaking of Tesla, did you catch the recent promo video of Archer? I don't care about Archer. I didn't catch it. We could look at it, but I think I don't like any of his companies. I don't think he's a real person. And what do I mean by that? I've never seen, I feel like it's Nikola. It's like Nikola. It's like rolling the thing down the hill. You get little bits of it. They tell you stuff's happening. They never really clarify if they're teleoperating things, where at least Tesla will do that. And I just don't trust them. And Archer has never really done anything. That's his other company, but he also does which fucking robot company does he own again? I can't even remember. They haven't had any news in a while. But I just think these other companies aren't that real. I think Tesla's going to get a huge valuation for its robots soon. And don't get me wrong, these other shitty companies that are robot companies will go up in value too, because everybody will say it's the exact same thing, and it's not. But I love Tesla. I think Tesla's going up a lot. And we can look at the Archer video in a little bit. I just think they're a shit company. Sergeant Squid, Jesse, can we have a moment of prayer for 130,000 BTC? I don't think we need to pray for that. That's just coming. That's coming like maybe today. We have nothing for economic data. I mean, the government shut down. We got 6-month and 3-month bond auctions. A bunch of other foreign data. We do have the Fed speak, optimism index, consumer inflation expectations in September. Like, we got some data points coming out, but we don't really have good stuff. So it's going to be really quiet on that front, and I think it gives the market time to melt up. I'm going to jump back over here real quick. EOC is interesting too. There's a lot of interesting companies to look at as I make a bunch of money. If I make $7 million off of RG calls, first off, I'm doing a victory dance and giving the middle finger to everybody who didn't fucking believe I could do it. But I'm going to have so much extra money to put into things. But I want to talk about RG. I should do that real quick. So as you can see, RG had it rough, right? This thing came out into an ETF in like 2015. It got a little bit of a pump, died on the vine, finally started to come back, really had an explosion at the start of the pandemic timeframe. Everybody was like heavy into genomics and investing, and they were thinking this was the way to change probably all the shots and things that we were doing for people. So you had this huge explosion where we ran from $24 all the way up to 117-ish. 231% in gains, I think it was. Or maybe, no, it's more than that. What is it here? It's way more than that. It's 380%, right? So this thing, since that time in 2021, it's just straight down. And then it had its overshoot, and that was a great time to buy. I bought a lot of options in here. And now it's just been straight up. So we went from 17 to sitting at about 30 right now. And if we get up here, I'm going to be so fucking rich. Jeremy's still short Tesla? I don't know. Hopefully not. But he's long AMD, I think, if I remember correctly. I haven't watched him in a very long time. But if he's long AMD, he's having a good day. I actually like Jeremy. I think he's a good person outside of the way he's acting with Tesla. I think he's being a dipshit. But that's his prerogative. Everybody has their opinions. Joseph said, do most people sell everything at the end of the year for tax purposes, or do they save some of their position? It depends on what you're doing. I've got a lot of this in tax-advantaged accounts where I don't care about the taxes, but I've also got long-term capital gains on a number of accounts. I will be selling it like probably by November or in November out of large portions of those investments so that I can lock in that long-term capital gains. That'll be the last I do for the year. And then I've got credit cards I can tap. I've got all this fucking money, millions of dollars that I'll be able to use. Should you sell your losers at year end? It depends. If you're trying to offset capital gains, it could be really good. Yeah, tax loss harvesting. If you need to offset gains to lower your tax bill in April, I mean, that might be a good idea. But yeah, so I think RG, I just think I'm so excited about all these plays, guys. We got so much stuff to be excited about. Let's keep going. We haven't gotten through nearly enough news. Yeah, that's the way to do it. That's different than selling everything. If you're invested in crypto and Bitcoin investments, I think you should be out in November, personally. Could we go higher than that? And do I buy a little bit in to speculate on that? I might, but I'll probably be out in November. Danny, recessions do not happen when the S&P year-over-year changes plus 15%. They only happen when we cross below zero. And even then, it's not a guarantee. Throw away your recession calls. I don't make the rules. So what he's saying over here is we're actually sitting really good on year-over-year return. We're not in bear market territory. You could see where in 2022 people were scared about it, but that went away. And we're not near that yet. So we got a ways still. So we should keep an eye on this. But again, we're not there. Bitmine acquired 180,000 Ethereum tokens in the past week. That's cool. Still up 4.6%, looking good on the day. Not hating that at all. I put this won't last long. So this is a bar chart saying U.S. stocks are underperforming the rest of the world by the largest margin since 2009. We are not getting priced in for exceptionalism yet. I know that's hard to believe, right? Because we're already seeing the S&P so high, but we're not priced in for U.S. exceptionalism. That still cometh. And so you can see why my price target of an S&P at 7,500 is so high, because we have some tailwinds behind us. Jesse, your January ARKG calls, there will be a point where you sell them. How long will you hold out on them? Again, I sell on the way up. Those are the ones that are going to expire the most. I am down 81% in those. So those are not my favorite calls. But if we get, they just have to get to 50. And if we get to 50, I'm in the money. I think we can get to 60. But I'll be selling those probably pretty decently. But again, I've still got until January. I love my June and my January 2027s, though. I love them so much. And if I'm sitting on 7 million by the end of the year with ARKG alone, the world is a beautiful place. And I have made probably over $20 million, maybe closer to 30. It can vary that much. Lonasis, Jess, that was you. So I'll be selling on the way up. Again, and I guys, I have these charts. This chart is sitting on the Discord. And I need to update some probably, but this one's in the Discord. So if we get to 60, I'm going to be totally out, but I'll sell, like once we get to 38, I'll sell some, and it will be those Januaries. It'll be the most recent thing coming up because that's the one with the highest risk to reward. And then once we get up to here, I'll probably have a decent chunk out, up 60%, because that's right at that strike price. And then I'll probably be all out of my January 2026 calls by the time we get to $61. But here's the thing. I think very quickly, this is only a 1.2 billion AUM account. This thing, because of its small size, could go up a fucking lot. So if we get to 134, which I think is totally possible this next year for ARKG, then I'll probably look to try and get out of all my Junes and probably might start selling my Januaries, if not be sold out if we're up 340%. And then there's the overshoot, which I think we could do. Again, if we look over here, guys, if we go to the previous all-time high, if we just say by January 2027, we're saying ARKG goes 14% higher than its previous all-time high, which was set when? 2021. You got 4 months on your AMD calls. I mean, I'm excited about AI, and it sounds like AMD is just getting an uplift. So you might be pretty good on those. You might make a lot of money on those, I would think. Healthcare stocks. This is just something to keep an eye on. I think UNH, healthcare really isn't my thing, and I don't know if I like United Healthcare as a company and what they do for the world. I don't know if I like the existing healthcare space and what they do for the world, but they're probably going to benefit a lot from AI. There's a lot of. I came from one of my last jobs was working at a software company for urgent care medical software. I was the head of support, and I was also an account executive and some other stuff. But I got to see the systems. The one we had was one of the better ones, and it was honestly just shit compared to what we could do right now with technology and interfacing. And it was a good one. But I could see like a lot of companies benefiting a lot from AI, a lot from support. Think about that. You don't even have to have a support department anymore. It's maybe a couple of people. But really, it's like everything else is automated. Everything's just an AI that somebody's talking to, and they might not even know it. So I'm excited about like everything software, everything tech. And I'm excited about the healthcare space right now too. I think that they're going to get a major overhaul, just like financials, just like Tom Lee's been talking about. Kobayashi letter. So if you guys can think of really good healthcare companies that are like really changing some shit and great companies that we should be invested in, we should talk about that. Kobayashi letter, though, says this is absolutely insane. Technology and tech-related stocks now reflect a record 56% of the market. This is 5 percentage points higher than the dot-com bubble peak. At the same time, defensive stocks make up just 16%. And this is not defensive in like war necessarily. This is like staples, like plays that people would jump into if the economy is falling apart. When they say defensive, that's what they're talking about. It says this is the first time in history that defensive stocks have sustained a fall below 20%. Meanwhile, traditional cyclicals, stocks that move with the economic cycle, make up 28% of the total market cap, nearing historically low levels. Technology stocks have never been this dominant. I think that this is something that's going to continue. Technology is the future of everything, We're literally going to be printing technology that can do work and replace human labor. And we're going to be able to just print an infinitely larger amount of these every year that goes by. The compound annual growth rate of that is going to be fucking insane. So this is going to get crazier. Mountain Off Grid, thank you for the $5 or $4.99. Thank you for all you do and all you did. You helped my family a lot. Can you cover MetaPlanet and Smarter Web? Yeah, we could do that. We'll jump over to it real quick. So again, we know that MSTR has taken off. We know that miners took the lead on the narrative. My timing on this one sucked, but here's what we like, okay? And I haven't updated this chart in a while. This is MetaPlanet. We are above peak volumes for the entirety of the existence of this company. And it's a landing board. So I would honestly, if I end up making a lot of money in like ArcG and all these other things, and this hasn't taken off yet, I will probably be buying more. Because this is a beautiful base. You had a nice overshoot. This thing has dropped a total of 77% down to new lows. I need to adjust this just a little bit, though. Down to new lows. You've got you've got this RSI, then you've got a slightly higher one, and now you're probably going to have a higher one over here. You're building divergence that started in early September. So for about a month, you've been building divergence to the upside. There's all these gaps to be filled. So I can see myself, this company they're going to 14. I think that they could probably go to 20 just based on FOMO. Again, if everybody's made money on HPC plays and just everything else that's hot, there's so much AI, energy, there's so fucking much that people are going to be making money on. And these haven't popped in, let's say, like weeks. I'm probably going to own a lot more of MetaPlanet. And things like SWC. Smarter Web just bought or listed the deals and the terms for like warrants that were created and where they're sitting on all their investing and the Bitcoin they've been buying. And thank you. Wow, you guys are just going crazy. I've got to start thanking people for what's going on. We're just a little bit lower here. Again, we have a divergence in the same area. Again, finding support on peak volumes with the Smarter Web company. This thing went 87% down. Painful to be a part of, but again, very clearly defined low and bottoming pattern at the beginning of September, roughly a month ago. It's really the same setup, okay? 1,000, is that yen or won? I don't know what that is, but thank you, Stony, for that amount, whatever it is, high or low. I appreciate you. And Mimi Scott, thank you very much for the 10 gifted memberships too. And everybody who got one of those, you can talk and chat now. But no, I'm looking at adding more to these. I want to add more to these positions. I think that with Smarter Web, I think you could see 600%. I think you could see a 600% increase. It might be more than that. Because again, once we banana zone up to here, I mean, it goes up to 33. So it's a weird number. But if we banana zone, which is possible, we could get to the 10 range. It could just be that fucking nuts. Coincilium is at almost 70 cents. Isn't that wild? It's such a piece of shit. But here's the thing. If that piece of shit went down how much? How much did Coincilium go down? Coincilium went down 97 fucking percent from its high. So when you go down that much, it's just like eventually you're going to hit a point where if you get speculation again, it's going to go up a lot. Still down 94% from its high. It could go up 400. Well, no, I got to readjust these. Let me just do this. And again, these things I think I have Coincilium. Maybe I don't. Maybe I need to check Discord. But you guys can see these charts and you can pull them up yourself because I've got them saved on there. And if something needs to be updated, let me know. Especially you could do that here in chat. But if you look here, I think we can get to at least 354%. I think we could get 714. I think this thing could go 1,600%. And I could have millions in Coincilium, which is retarded. All right, let me see here. What else we got? Alman, thank you for more money. You guys are great today. Thank you very much. Everybody loves it when they're making money, and I love that too. SWC looks like it's down 5% in Europe today. And let me see where Metaplanet's doing in Germany. Germany, we're down about 5% as well. So these are sucking, guys, but they've seen their bottom and they've got bullish divergence that started a month ago. So for me, I will be adding to those positions. Probably not Coincilium or anything like that. And BMNR is already running. I think you should already be in that. We should probably look at that chart real quick too. There's so much news. So much stuff going on, guys. But you can see the support zone here is a solid one. Now we're up here. Once we get up to here, this really starts to look like an ascending triangle. That ascending triangle, we can just do a measured move here. We're going to say that measured move is essentially from here. And I don't like to go to the wick. I like to be more prudent. So we're just going to say here, oh my God, look at that shit. Look at that shit. Look at that shit. Where does it go? It goes perfectly to the golden ratio, the .618. That's like, this is happening. So BMNR is getting to $147. It's just going to do that. And yeah, that 2x play. Oh, I should have bought that 2x play down here when you guys were talking about it. I never really looked at volumes on it, and I never made the move. I guess I could. We're barely up. I might sell some BMNR and buy that. What was it? BMNU? Is that the 2x play on Bitminer? Let me know, guys. But this is beautiful. Like this, it's not like I pre-planned this. This is just the measured move off of this. And I don't know. You could call it here. It's probably better. It's probably better to be conservative and be like it's right there, right? I think that's probably better. Like draw it from like something like this. But either way. You can always be more conservative. BMNU, I got to look at the volumes on that. You're heavy in BMNU and selling options into it? Oh, that's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. I think 140 is super easy on this one. So adding a multiplier to your gains doesn't sound stupid. And I mean, we could still, I still think this thing could do 220. And if you got BMNU, maybe you're making 700, 800% off that shit. That could be good. I don't know what the tracking errors look like, and I don't know what the volume and liquidity looks like, but that's very interesting. That is very interesting. Let me put some of these things back, and we'll get back to news because we've done a horrible job on that. We being me. Smarter Web, I'll put you over here too, so I can keep track of what you're doing. Sorry, here. And Metaplanet, we talked about a lot of charts, though. We got a lot of charts out of the way. That's good. People have an idea where we're sitting. I'm loving all this, guys. God, I'm loving all this. It's just like we're living in crazy times. I can make $7 fucking million off of ARKG, and that might not be the top. Just ARKG. You missed leverage, Jesse? I know, I do too. But here's the thing. It was way easier to be levered at the bottom. You know what I mean? You feeling me? Like when Tesla was at $150, being levered was just like a stupid easy decision. I would argue that like now it's not as easy. It's just not as easy. You know? It's just not as easy. And I am a conservative person in nature. I know it doesn't sound like that, and I would get it if you feel that way, okay? If you go over here and you look at this chart and you see where I was in like 2019 and 2020, and you see the goal that I have, and you think that I could be at 12 to 20 by the end of the year, it sounds like I'm fucking crazy. And it sounds like I'm somebody who's like a huge gambler, but I'm actually pretty conservative, which is why I did so well in 2023. In a year where a lot of people were still sidelined because they were afraid that the world was falling apart after companies like Meta and Tesla dropped 75%. I think fucking Amazon was down that much. And I made a ton of money because I'm actually conservative in nature and I know when to apply leverage. And I did it at the bottom of 2022. And I listen to really smart people. I'm not the smartest person on earth, but I have a pretty good read of other people and their intelligence when it comes to macroeconomics and investing. And so I follow the right people. So I know it looks weird and it sounds like I'm not a conservative person because in 2020 I had $164,000 in my investment account, and now I'm telling you that I'm going to have 12 to 20 million, and that looks way bigger, right? But I am. I'm actually a pretty conservative person, so keep that in mind. And I also sell too early. I had MicroStrategy leaps at the bottom of the last bear market that were two plus years, 2.5 years when I got them. If I would have held those, I'd already be richer than I am. I'm talking about for my goals at the end of the year. Sorry if this has been asked, but any thoughts on SEP 21 Capital? I own it, I think, but it's a very small amount, and I don't really have any thoughts on it. And B, at which price level would you set to stop losses for 60% of Tesla's position at this point if you would want to set it and forget it? You might have to explain the trade to me a little bit more to make sure that I'm following. Logan said, we made great progress in inventory. He's talking about housing in 2025, even with the recent slowdown. So this is not a popular narrative. And this talks to another narrative that I've been saying for a while. And that's why we're looking at it. If you look at the 2021, 2022, you'll see that we bottomed for housing inventory and that we've been climbing up. This is good. This is a good thing, right? It's good that we're seeing housing inventory growing. I've been saying for a while that 85% of the existing home sales, or I should say this, existing home sales normally make up 80 to 85% of the home sales that you see in a given year, historically, at least going back several decades. And they've been shut down since the Fed raised rates at the most aggressive rate in history in the end of 2021. Inventories are climbing now. And at the same time, we've got the Fed lowering rates and we've got climbing inventories. And I can see more people going, shit, I better sell my house now. I'm old. A lot of people are demographicing out, man. I don't know the exact number. I'll have to grok it maybe and get some data points behind it. But think about this. Nobody's really been selling their homes since like 2021, the end of 2021. But there's people that are old and they need to sell their home. They want to move to Florida so that they don't have to worry about a death tax, or they want to go to a retirement community or need to. They just need to, or they need to downsize their expenses. There's been inflation. They need to downsize. They need to lock in some of those gains so that they can afford things, right? Like this is just the world that we're living in. And I think that for that reason, we're going to see inventories climbing while rates are coming down. And there's going to be a flood of people that need to sell or want to sell for whatever reason, probably a lot of it demographic based. And it's going to plummet housing prices. And this is going to be rocket fuel for the melt up that's coming. This is spring even. So this weirds me out because I'm in two different places. A, I think the S&P is going to 7,500. It's just happening. But B, I still think that Bitcoin and crypto are going to blow up first, and that's going to happen between now and the end of the year because they're going to melt up. And then I think we see the economy absorbing back into that, and the stock market maybe into the spring. And I could be wrong about this in the way it's going to play out. But I can see us going higher, and I see this S&P hitting 7,500 because I could see a lot of movement with money in the housing sector in the spring. And that's got to be good. Maybe this just simply speaks to the fact that we're going to have a drop in markets, a 30% drop in spring at the beginning of the year, or maybe at the end of this year. That would match with seasonality for Bitcoin, even though I will say cycles are becoming longer. I think that would have been proven out in 2021. It just didn't because the Fed raised rates so aggressively. But maybe we have that dip, and then we're rocket fuel into when everybody is ready, like the S&P's down 25%, maybe 20% at least on the S&P. Maybe the Nasdaq's down 25, 30. Everybody thinks the sky is falling, and we just rocket up as the world is on fire in a good way. And that's what I think's coming. Here, one second, I need water. I wanted to reiterate this. U.S. federal debt, what happened in 1971, a lot of you that are here already know. But when the government isn't bound to rules for money printing, the Cantillon effect goes into play. And that just means that people closest to the money printer benefit. When people closest to the money printer benefit, they print more. They do that from mismanagement and corruption. That's like every government on earth. But when they're not bound by money printing, they steal your money. And that's why this line goes up so much. It's not a chart crime. It's actually real. It's just sick. Real quickly, CPI versus M2 money supply. This is fascinating. This shows how you can see over here in purple, M2 money supply dropped and actually turned negative. Well, it's climbing now, and it's positive again. And so that's a good sign, and you can see that translating into the stock market right now. In green, you can see the CPI is going down. So we've got prices that aren't really going up and that are oscillating downward when you're looking at this at a year-over-year basis, right? So that's getting pulled down at a time where M2 is getting pulled up. This is what's happening with Bitcoin right now. We've got Kevin Hassett, somebody who is a badass and who I really like. I think he's one of the most brilliant people on Trump's team, outside of maybe Stephen Moran being at the top and Scott Bessent maybe next, and then maybe Hassett. I don't know, but let's listen to him talk about the golden age that we're coming into.
Right. The golden age that President Trump promised us is really on the way.
Quiet, sorry.
And in fact, the things that you like the best, the capital spending and so on, those are the numbers that are really the strong. Right. The golden age that President Trump promised us is really on the way. And in fact, the things that you like the best, the capital spending and so on, those are the numbers that are really the strong. Right. The golden age that President Trump
I didn't realize it looped. I was trying to figure out the audio. So I guess it's a really short one. I thought that was the longer one. It must be the short one. All right, this is cool. And again, these charts, guys, these came from Kathy Wood. She does this kind of like macro review of what's going on in the United States and around the world and commodity markets and just a lot of other stuff. And she gives you her view. And you might not like her stock picking. I don't know if I do, but she's brilliant. She's a brilliant person. And again, the people that she followed, her mentor, Lafferty, he was somebody who literally gave Ronald Reagan his playbook that now is being incorporated into this new version for Trump with Stephen Moran. So she's brilliant, and she got mentored by some of the most brilliant people on earth. So just keep that in mind, right? Give her credit. She's awesome. People are going to love her again in this bull market. This shows federal corporate income tax. And the only thing I wanted to point out about this slide is that it's went down a lot. And it's doing that now. Like, we're getting another big leap down. But we are, as far as developed nations go, the economies of scale, like let's say out of the top 10, 15, 20, we're the lowest tax environment right now for corporations. And there's a very simple answer to money and how it flows. Give it the easiest path. Whatever's the easiest path, just like water, the money will flow there. And the easiest path right now is investing in the United States of America, especially with tariffs in play. So just realize what's coming, okay? It's good stuff. There's all these doomers. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They want to sound intelligent. I think the value you get from me is I don't try and pretend I'm something I'm not. I'm good at, again, looking at other people that are brilliant and dissecting and understanding in a basic way what they're talking about. I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm a high school dropout. And I can translate a lot of this and tell you why it's bullish. I think a lot of people that want to be smart in this field that get sidelined, they want to talk about why everything's falling apart. And I don't know how you can live in a world like that when the market wants to go higher. We know this. You know how we know this? We just go backwards, right? We go backwards. We look at a 3-month chart. We take out all the noise, and we just look at it. And have there been times throughout history, we're in the 1800s now. So if anything, this chart, if I just look at this chart of the S&P 500 going back to the 1800s, I would get one thing very clear, and maybe two things from this. One, you can see how there were periods where we didn't have the Fed and we didn't have the money printing and we didn't have all the tricks of the trade to ensure that the money printer continues to go burr back in the Great Depression. And it led to, and we did all the wrong things back then. We did the opposite of what we're doing right now. And so it was a really painful time for a very long period of time, all the way up into the 40s. And January of 43, we finally started going up and just really started going up. But it took a long fucking time to get there, right? And then we had this period of chop back in the 60s and 70s where we had just this stagflation environment, no growth. That's not the environment we're in right now. There's a bunch of people that are going to tell you that's the environment we're in right now. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. So just tell them to shut up. AI alone and robotics and just the stuff that we already have right now are changing the world in a substantial way that did not exist in the 70s. So just let's use common sense here. And then you had periods where we had the dot-com bubble. And again, a big drop. Then we had a period where we had the great financial crisis that caused a double top that technically wanted to go lower, right? But we bounced back. But the whole thing I'm getting here is, we're having shortened periods of time. I can just look at this and see shortened periods of time of downward price action and volatility and oscillation to the downside. It's less and less time. And right now we've got AI in abundance ahead of us. This looks like it's going parabolic. Like if I was just looking at this like with a curved line or something, to me, this looks like it's going parabolic. Again, over here, it's kind of hitting its tops, but now it's just ramping up. And we know that we're at a time where we just have to print like crazy. It's just a very exciting time to be alive. And we've got low corporate margin tax rates, the best in the world. Real manufacturing structures have ballooned. Most of this is AI, but this also has been helped by legislation from both Biden and Trump over the last several years. And then again, the depreciation schedules that help create that low tax environment that we're in this is just all rocket fuel. It rolled over a little bit, but it's getting ready to go higher. We got our Japanese prime minister. I just wanted to talk about this real quick since she's in here. Takaichi. She actually was friends and a part of the administration under Abe. She's brilliant. And she, again, is a little Trump. She's just going to crush it. She's very conservative in nature. She's going to crush it. Japan's going to do really well. I put over here, this is United States real estate prices. Like I've said, they're going down. If you look here, new homes sold have already been rolling over for a while. Existing homes sold have not rolled over, but that was due to a lack of inventory. Now that we have inventory, it's going to. So you need to pay attention to this stuff. Guys, for the 1,050 people that are here, if you guys could hit the like button and comment and just do all the things, talk and chat, that would be amazing. Byron Wan, he put allowing a surge of Chinese investment into the United States economy would be a major concession to Beijing. So what is this talking about? A Bloomberg article that was published over the weekend that talked about how China pushes Trump to drop curbs as it dangles investment pledge. They were talking about how they were going to give us $1 trillion. Trump gave them the middle finger. $1 trillion isn't enough. If they could jump to like $5 trillion or something, maybe $2 trillion, whatever. But we're not going to give them concessions where we give them some of the best chips and all these other things. I know there's a lot of talk about how they've got, open source AI and how they're leading in robotics. It's all bullshit. They are a manufacturing powerhouse. That is true. They have a lot more capability than people give them credit for. Their EV sector, there is some really good copied tech where, again, they're open sourcing and using some of the same things, but there's so much corruption in the country that there's just all you ever hear. Imagine what it would sound like to the outside world if you had an entire department like the Department of War dedicated to propaganda, and they were called the Department of Propaganda. China literally has that. And so imagine if the only thing you ever heard coming out of the United States was all the good stuff that was going on and none of the bad. You're going to have a really warped perception of what that country is capable of. Right now, people get all kinds of horrible things about the United States, right? They don't get that with China. Never. It's only people like me. Nobody ever calls China for what it is. And so you have a really warped sense of understanding of what China is. Even the people in the country do, because they don't even know Tiananmen Square happened. Home buying intentions. This is fascinating. So if you look, there are still a ton of people that want to buy homes. So we know this market can open up. We know we just need lower interest rates. And so it's been this way since 2011, 12. So people want homes. It's just making them affordable. And I think that's getting ready to happen. And if I'm right about that, the economy is going to go gangbusters. My buddy Seth Golden, my Jewish brother from another mother, lives in Jersey. Slow rate cutting cycle speaks favorably of economy and confirmed through the SPX and EPS trend. So what is he showing us here? It says average. I don't know if that's the EPS. First cut after pause, months prior, post months. S&P index around first cut following easing cycle pauses 6 months or more. So he said historically long rate cut pauses happen in soft no landing scenarios where economy and market conditions continue to expand. A soft landing confirmed in 2024, average SPS or SPX performance attached. So what he's saying is we're looking like we're doing this. And I would argue with the spring down that we had, it's probably going to be more violent to the upside. There's a bunch more stuff. We'll skip all that. I'm going to go to Tesla first. There's so much going on right now, guys. It's already almost 8 o'clock. I can't believe I talked as much as I did. Before we get into Tesla fully, if we look at the fear and greed index for stocks right now, the CNN fear and greed index, we're not even at greed. Can you imagine that? Who's feeling pretty greedy right now? Me. But we're not even there yet. This is just such a beautiful setup for more upside. And it'll be more violent because it's a coiled spring. You can literally see it right here. Coin market cap. We have 59. We're in neutral. So again, not in greed in crypto, not in greed in stocks. Pretty crazy. And let's see if Truflation has anything interesting. 2.22%. So we're not seeing crazy inflation there either. And we know that in December, we're talking about, what are we looking at for the probabilities here? Let me refresh. 96% chance of another rate cut in December. What are we sitting at for January? So we're right over here. We're at the 400 to 425 current. That's what we're at right now. And so we're saying we're going to do one in September. And then now we're saying there's a 55% chance of getting one rate cut in January, but a 35 of getting two. So we're looking at every month. We just got one, but we're looking at December. We're looking at January. We're looking potentially two in January. That's a lot of rate cuts. I just put some more in Solt. In my opinion, that is a good parking spot. I agree, and I've got tons of money in that too. I do need to update my charts. I'll try and do it today, guys, maybe tonight at worst case, as far as my portfolio, because I'm over 4 million. The way things are going, maybe I end up being 5 today. I don't even know anymore. It's getting fucking nuts. You're fully deployed? Same here, brother. Same here, Alex. Old Army Dog agreed, just trying to decide where the best option is at this point. What was your question? Where would you deploy cash at this point in the market? Or just, there's so many things. I still think ARKG is really cheap as far as the options contracts. But again, I've been talking about dialing out of options, not dialing in. I think CleanSpark could be a really good one still too, even though it's went up a decent amount. I think that, again, just you'd have to run the numbers. But if you want less complicated plays, I think stacking, if you're willing to wait a while, stacking into MetaPlanet and probably the Smarter Web Company is not a bad idea. Solt is a good one too. Yeah, there's so many options right now, dude. Jesse, you said you'll be out of crypto by November. Yeah, sometime probably in early. How about treasuries? Like, it depends. Probably them too. I'll probably be out of everything leveraged, and I won't be totally out of crypto. I do have Bitcoin too. I don't talk about it, but I have some Bitcoin too that I add to every cycle. But yeah, my goal is to be out of all of it, and I'll keep you guys updated like I always do. All right, real quickly, Tesla. Peggy said this time we've already seen what it looks like. Best-selling Tesla ever. Imagine a $35,000 Tesla, maybe lower, base cost for a Model Y. That's amazing. That's going to sell like hotcakes. Everybody will be able to be into a Tesla, even people that don't have as much money. The average vehicle, guys, is 44,000, I think, for the midpoint. So this will be 33. So you're delving into, you're expanding the number of people that can buy your car by probably an order of magnitude, a 10x, right? By jumping into this or getting close to that. Maybe you're 7x. But you basically opened up massive volume. Massive. This is a lever they pulled, and it's happening right now, and it's pretty amazing. Elon Musk on 10/19/2022, I will not let you down no matter what it takes. You better believe this man. He means it. What color Optimus robot for you? I want every one of them. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have every fucking color. It'll be great around holidays. And you could do like the red, white, and blue for the 4th of July. You keep the other guys away. Whatever. It's going to be amazing. I said you should know by now that Elon Musk will be the leader in 95% of the things he leans his gaze towards. Like the Eye of Sauron. If he looks at you, that's what's going to happen. The media said Tesla would fail. Today it's worth 1.4 trillion. And it's just getting started. The media said SpaceX would fail. Today, it dominates the space industry and puts up over almost 95% of the payload mass of the entirety of the fucking Earth every year that they're putting up into space. Everybody else pales in comparison, including other countries like China, the entire country. And this is just another indication that China is not as far ahead as people say it is. They're just not. They wouldn't be this way in space. But they can't hide space. It's them and Tesla, right? And you're directly competing against Elon Musk in something that nobody else can compete in. So they can't hide in space. The media said X would fail, and it's the number one source of news right now. It might not be the number one social media app, but it's where the news happens. And it's going to be a payment portal with money. It's going to be tied in with your car probably in the future. It's going to be tied in with your robots. You best believe that X is going to do well. And that is why you invest in Elon Musk. And I will be putting tons of money into Elon Musk in the years ahead, guys. I'm going to put, if I'm right, I'm going to have at least $5 million, if not $10 million in Tesla stock by the end of the year. I put, people have no idea what's coming. What did I do this for? Tesla Yoda said, hold on, if Optimus version 3 has the FSD model, wouldn't it be able to sit in the driver's seat of any regular car of any make and drive it like you and I? Elon said, probably. This thing, some people are smart and they realize something about this. It's off center. It looks deliberately off center. So there's some people that think that this is like the wheel for the new car. But James is at 50%. That sounds smart. I mean, I'm going to be getting there. I've waited a while, but I'm going to be getting there. But I don't even know how to say this name. Not even going to try. Tesla's off-center impeller and promo is intentional for industrial mixing. Used in chem processing battery slurries like Gigafactory electrode prep to prevent vortices, reduce swirling, and boost efficiency in baffled tanks. Breaks symmetry for better flow. So I think what he's saying here is that this could be something that helps with mixing inside of a battery factory, and that maybe we're getting finally close to a real 4680 adoption where these things are done in mass and maybe, or even better. I don't know if it's going to be that or if it's something that ties in with the Roadster, where it's like an induction system that helps pull the car and get it closer to the ground, or maybe elevate it as well. I don't know. I think it could be that, but it's going to be fascinating to find out. And then we've got the Dumb Money Gang just doing a quick promo here talking about Tesla. I want to listen to that. Thank you, Galaxy. I love you too.
Tesla could be close to revealing Gen 3 of their Optimus humanoid robot very soon. The prototypes that we've seen so far are not the design intended for mass production. Elon has confirmed that they have not shown that
almost
to us
125,000.
The new V3 Optimus sublime. Here's what we do know, along with some of the latest rumors. You can expect a sleeker design that's more capable. It's going to run Grok AI for voice and conversation.
This is a month from now. We're going to see this in a month. Can you imagine that? Imagine the excitement that builds up into that.
Might be able to handle thousands of useful tasks at launch, and it could even go into mass production as soon as next year, at least according to Elon. What we don't know is how much it can actually do without human help, how much it's going to cost, and if 2026 is at all realistic, or if that's just another Elon timeline fantasy with reality coming years later. Elon does seem to be fully back into work mode at Tesla, and
we're supposed to be getting version 14, I think even today, or at least this week. Guys, my car is already sentient, and Elon said that version 14 will feel sentient. So what he's saying is it's going to feel like it's a human brain. It's going to feel like it's a human brain starting this week. And the robot can operate off of that. It could literally hop in a car and drive the car wherever it needs to go. That would be like the cheap version of a car with autopilot. Oh my God. They could totally do that. There would be even old ICE cars could be turned into, in probably a more cheap fashion, probably for half the price, at least maybe like 60%, 70% the price of a regular car would be to buy or lease an Optimus robot, and then you could have it be the autopilot and the driver and literally a chauffeur for with an ICE vehicle. So you could still use ICE vehicles, and they'll be autonomous too. They'll just be autonomous with Optimus robots. Tell me that's not the future. Love that shit. All right, let's listen to his last thought. Sorry, I just had some stuff rolling through my head.
Way more into robots than cars at this point, even though Tesla just announced that they delivered more EVs last quarter than it has at any prior quarter ever. Elon says that Optimus will be more valuable than everything else Tesla does combined. Wall Street seems to like that story. Tesla stock has nearly doubled in the past 6 months. And today on Dumb Money, we're going to tell you how we're playing Tesla and how Optimus Gen 3 could change everything. Tesla.
Yeah, these guys can be retarded sometimes, but so can I. I do like what they have to say, and they're very focused on Tesla lately, which I think they should be. I don't know if this is real. Is this real? Can you guys tell me if this is real, real quick? President Trump is considering significant tariff relief for Tesla, Ford, Toyota, Honda, GM. I could see how he would want to do that. I just haven't heard much about it officially, and I didn't see a video from Trump about it. Maybe there was one, and I just didn't see it. I've been trying to spend more time with the family, so. But it says the signal to the car companies around the world is, look, you have final assembly in the U.S. We're going to reward you. Republican U.S. Senator Bernie Moreno, an auto official, said for Ford, for Toyota, for Honda, for Tesla, for GM, those are almost in order, the top 5 domestic content vehicle producers. They'll be immune to tariffs. He said in June, the Commerce Department said it planned an import offset equal to 3.75% of the suggested retail price for eligible U.S. assembled vehicles through April 2026, and then a second year at 2.5% to address tariffs from imported automobile parts. Trump is considering keeping the offset at 3.75% and extending to 5 years and expanding the offset to U.S. engine production, Moreno officials said. I actually think this is brilliant, because you want to do that 5-year extension in order to be able to ensure that people are building in America. So this is super smart, in my opinion. I love it. Oh, I missed something. Missed a few somethings. All right, whatever. We can keep going. So again, Waymo's hitting stuff. My Cybertruck is way better than a Ford F-150 as far as safety. This is the new single headlight version. We've actually seen another version of it too. Actually, Shay, I think, responded to me on this one. I said, to be clear, Tesla's Optimus will be in all of these fields, because Shay put 8 ways robotics is getting built out across auto sectors, and he showed all the different companies that are involved in different ways, right? And it was a great list. I appreciate him putting it together. And if you look in here, though, the comment I made was robot automation, medical robot, defense robot, robot software, logistics robot, industrial robots, professional robot, service robot. This is literally everything that Tesla is going to be a part of, to be clear. They're not just going to be industrial. I mean, we've already seen this thing doing kung fu. That's not the point. It's to replace everything and not be one of these retarded fucking things driving down a golf course. So there's really good stuff ahead. Let me see if there's any more. I think this might have skipped a few. got weird. And again, Berkshire Hathaway is 100% out of BYD. I think Tesla found the bottom, guys. And then we'll jump over into some Bitcoin talk. I think Tesla found the bottom. That was it. That's very clearly it. We've got all the volume underneath of us. Tesla's going up from here. It's not going to do this. The worst case scenario is over. It's definitely going up. So that's cool. Oh, let's see here. That would be incredible for my parents that can't drive due to their age and memory issues. Yeah, right? Why wouldn't you want that? Why wouldn't you want that for all of these people? Yeah. And again, that's just kind of hinting on this point right over here, right? This one, I don't know, right here, where this person said they were 70 and they can't see that well anymore and they're struggling and they need more help than they used to need, and how this car has literally changed their lives. I fucking love that. I love that. There's more people are going to realize that. Market loving EOC contracts. Yeah, didn't they get something with like some kind of government related or data center thing? Is that what happened? Tell me about the contract. Tell me about that. 1 second here. Let me get back over. All right, so let's get over to Bitcoin. There's so much going on. Actually, let's go to AI. God, there's so much happening. We got Bullish Rocket Lab, and basically space companies and data centers like Iron, right? So this is all in podcast over the weekend. This is one of the clips from Shamath talking about it and energy, and he's 100% right. That was
we don't find
really good part of the conversation.
Some compelling solves, electricity rates will double in the next 5 years. Now, if you think about how then consumers will view the use of AI, and then if you think about companies like us and others trying to use the cheapest version so that we are minimally impacting the downstream cost of these things, because it will become an energy problem, this is a very complicated thing. Now, his idea, and it's a huge PR crisis, because if you want to take big tech, which is already viewed negatively, and make their perception even worse, if you start to finger point to them and say, these guys are the reason my electricity costs have doubled in the last 5 years, that is no bueno for them. And they need to find an off-ramp ASAP.
It's a bad look, because you're saying your energy's doubling, and this could take your jobs, right? Like,
yeah, it's terrible.
Whether you believe that.
If we don't find some compelling solves, electricity rates will double.
Yeah, so that's amazing. If you think about that, this does give, again, companies that are servicing data centers, companies that are tied in with energy. I don't know these sectors well enough to really understand who the big benefactors are, but you could probably follow some of these guys like Shay, and definitely Mike Alfred, and probably just hit over and over and over again. And so I might play with some of that too, depending on how things go. I'm going to be looking at other option contracts. I'm going to be looking at hedging, having a lot of cash by the end of the year, owning the right things that I want to own, but then also have some longs, maybe 5 to 10% that are long option plays. I think that's one thing that I've thought about, where at the end of the year, if we do get a big drop, I'm going to want to figure out some options I want to get into, and maybe I even get into 10 or 20% option plays with some of that money, along with hedges and along with cash and along with things like Tesla, and maybe that Argentinian fund and a few others. Anyway, AMD crushing it. That's fucking awesome. BlackRock just paid 40x revenue to buy a 5 gigawatt under construction data center capacity. So this is interesting because it said exceeding traditional data center valuations of 10 to 15x amid AI-driven premiums. So we got a 10 to 15x premium for these data centers, but they're doing 40 now. So that tells you the premium is getting more premium, something, whatever that word is. So that's great, right? We want that. That's the kind of stuff we want. Sam Badawi, I think he might have even appeared or be appearing on something with Amit. I didn't really get too close of a look, but again, he's in nuclear, LNG, renewables, battery suppliers. I'm liking him already. So I made sure to retweet his stuff. I do disagree with this Bloomberg post about power demand for AI data centers to quadruple in 10 years. I think it's going to be way quicker than that. And I think that the U.S. is going to be much more dominant than this would reflect. Yeah, I believe both those things to be true. This is the new Grok, guys. This is a prompt for the Grok data center and what it would look like when we reach type 1 civilization. What's amazing about this, what's absolutely amazing about this is that they just updated Grok again. This is like the 0.9 revision. They started at 0.1 for Grok Imagine, and it's already just fucking crazy. This is what you can create with a prompt nowadays. And Elon, again, just the other day, yesterday, saying major improvements across the board for Grok, downloaded again. You got Shay, the AI utility. You got to follow Shay, guys. Said the trade is getting started. He talks about Google, Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, Oracle are pouring in tons of money. Watch, NBIS, Iron, Cypher, CoreWeave, Galaxy, all these companies. They're probably right. So maybe, again, maybe that's something where if we get some kind of big retrace, I might be looking at data center plays still after the reboot and see which of these guys are the ones that are really, highest conviction bets, and maybe investing some at the end of the year or beginning of the year if we get a big drop. Grokopedia version 0.1 early beta will be published in 2 weeks. We're replacing Wikipedia with an AI that gets rid of all the bullshit and all the noise and all the bias. This is going to be amazing. This is also going to be it's going to end up being the source of truth for X. It will be offloaded to Grokopedia, and I think that's brilliant. And I think X is going to be the largest social media platform on the planet by 2030. Why do I think that? Well, let's just watch another video from Grok Imagine. So not only do we have beautiful visuals and insane realism and just, I don't know what you call it anymore, just like the CGI through the roof, but the audio is beautiful too.
The ancient ones awaken.
Elon Musk founded XAI to understand the universe.
Grok launched as a truth-seeking AI.
I'm sorry, I'm going to keep watching this for a minute. This is just fucking amazing to me. That what we've already... Think about where we were 2 years ago when people first started talking about AI being anything. And now look at where we are already.
Grok 1.5 added vision capabilities.
This is insane. People are talking about a bunch of open AI stuff right now, but they don't realize what's coming over the next 6 months to a year. Grok will be by far the dominant leader in all tools and everything. Guys, we're almost at 125,000. David, Galaxy is the one to own? All right, I'll take a closer look. If you guys have good sources of information for me to reference and just people to look at, I would appreciate it. Matt said, thank you for the $4.99. First off, what do you think Tesla's investment into XAI is going to look like? Hopefully huge. I think Tesla and XAI are going to be one and the same. I mean, Tesla is going to be the brain, at least the remote brain for all of their products. And that's going to end up tying in with X and just everything. It's all going to be one beautiful ecosystem. It's going to be insane, and the investment's going to make us richer too, because again, the robots are going to be a big, not just the robot, but the robot brain. Again, having XAI be a part of the Tesla portfolio would be just sick as fuck. It's going to be great. Sound is also intriguing. Why? Can you guys tell me why? If you guys can give me more information or like a person to refer to that's really knowledgeable, that's amazing. JY, can we have a look at Mara? It has yet to run. Yeah, we can look at all that. Let's get real quickly through the AI and chips part, though, and then we can... There's Bitcoin stuff, too, but I at least want to get through this. The Nuclear Co. has announced a partnership with U.S. steelmaker Nucor to boost construction of gigawatt-scale U.S. nuclear reactors, supporting Trump's order to quadruple U.S. capacity and build 10 large nuclear reactors in the next 5 years. We're going to go way beyond that. Way beyond that. data centers. So data center growth has more than 3x since the Chat GPT moment. The crazy part is it doesn't look like it's slowing down. If anything, it looks like it's picking up. And so you can see where we had data center build outs for just like, again, regular data, traditional data center, not like brains, right? Not like brains. It shouldn't even be called a data center anymore. It's like a smart center. But again, 8-9 billion, probably 8 billion right over here. And now we're looking at 26, 27 with projections going way above that. And I think we're ramping. I think this is going into a parabola, and it's coming really fast. This is a conversation from my boy, and I love David Sachs. I think David Sachs is fucking brilliant, but he's talking about AI and China, and I've got a different opinion on this, but I want to listen to his first, okay?
I'm a big fan of open source software because it's a check on the power of big tech in a way. What we've seen in the past and the history of technology is that these major categories end up getting dominated by one or two big tech companies, and they have all the power and control. And open source provides an alternate path, right? Because the community of open source developers just puts things out there, and then you can take it and run it on your own hardware, and you're not dependent, right? It's a path to sort of software freedom, if you will. So far, so good. I think the thing that is now tricky about this is that all the leading open source models are from China these days. China has made a really big push on open source. Obviously, DeepSeek is an open source Chinese model. That was the first big one. Kimi is one, Quen from Alibaba. And so I think that if you want the US to win the AI race, then we're all kind of two minds about this. On the one hand, it's good that there are open source alternatives to the closed source proprietary models. On the other hand, they're all coming from China. Now, there were some American efforts that have been important. So Meta, most notably, has invested billions and billions of dollars in Llama. But the release of Llama 4, I think, was considered disappointing by a lot of people. And now there's statements by Meta that they might be backing away from open source and just going proprietary. OpenAI released an open source model, but it's nowhere near their frontier. And there are some startups that are trying. So there's one called Reflection that looks promising, is developing.
Open source isn't going to do well. If you don't believe me, like, I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. As far as adoption, something like Linux, right? Like you had a bunch of servers that use it because, again, there's just, from a technical standpoint, it was a better operating system. But open source, different versions of it. But again, the bulk of it was still controlled by Microsoft with a massive market share for a very, very long period of time. So I don't think open source is required. And I think what Tesla is doing with it is better. We'll finish his thought and then I'll talk to that.
An open source American model. But so far, this is maybe the one area in AI where the US is behind China is this sort of open source models.
No.
I'd say every other part of the stack, closed models, chip design, chip manufacturing, semiconductor manufacturing equipment, every other part of the stack, even data centers, I would say we're ahead. But this one area of open source is a little bit concerning. I'm a big fan of.
The only reason I'll agree with him about the concerning part, because open source could be helpful for quickly moving and adopting, as everything is basically from multiple different groups that are working really hard, and they do have a lot of numbers as far as total people that live there and that are in the tech related fields. They can source, they can steal from our tech. And they can work on open source platforms where they're continually updating and revising. And so it could help with revision. I get him on that point. I still think, though, that XAI is the massive winner and the compute is the big part. People don't understand this, but nobody's building quicker than X. Nobody is. And nobody said that they're going to build as quickly outside of Sam Altman, but he's delusional because if he thinks he's beating Elon Musk at this game, he does not understand what is coming. He's already angered Musk enough. We're at almost 125,000 now, guys, on Bitcoin. But I think XAI, just like Musk said, he's like, we'll be the first to this, we'll be the first to this, the first to this. He will win. And when you have an AI that can literally problem solve everything if given enough compute, you're going to do really, really, really well. We have 3 minutes until the market opens. Because you can have this thing literally solve your problems. It can write all the code. It can revise itself. It can become so much smarter. And people they have a hard time understanding what exponentials look like. It's the reason we use logarithmic scales over things like Tesla and Bitcoin over long time frames, because you can't grasp how crazy it can be. People are going to grasp that. And if I get 20 million this year, man, fuck all the haters. You guys can suck a massive something. And piss off, because I'm sorry, anybody who can go from red numbers in 2019 to $20 million deserves a little bit of a pat on the back when you're talking about a 6-year time frame, almost 7. Anyway, we got CleanSpark up 6.34% in pre-market. That seems good. We've got Bitfarms up 7%, Mara up 4.5%, Iron up 7.66%. I don't have Cypher up, but I'm sure it's up a shit ton too. MicroStrategy up 3.23, getting ready to break above the 200 moving average on the daily time frame. Or I'm sorry, it is above it. It actually turned that into support. Now it's testing peak volumes. This red line right here. So over a really long time frame, it looks like if I go back too far, it's not. But at least over the last, second quarter of this year. So that's good. This thing's popping. Like that looks good too. ARKG's up 1.33. Let's see what else we got. We got Solt. The Solana 2X fund is up 0.76. I'll take it. Bitmine is up 5%. SBET's up 3.5%. SBET just always does worse. EZ is only up 1.58. It seems like going with the winners is the good move. Sequoians, though, is up 3% in pre-market. That just keeps getting whacked down throughout the day, though, so we'll see if it can maintain. Let me look here. Palantir up 3.65%. I think I bought a couple grand of that. I didn't even post about it because it's such a small amount of money, but that looks good. So this looks, you could almost call this head and shoulders, even though you got this weird inversion over here. This could be something where the next measured move is into the lower twos. I could definitely see that. So lots going on there. Let me see what else we got here. Do we have SoFi? SoFi up 2.1%. Let me see how that's looking. If you guys have other charts you want to pull up, throw them up. Bounced off the 50 moving average, went from $30 down to $24. Nice little drop. Looks like it wants to go higher. I would say it probably does. Mara, yeah, we need to do Mara. Yes. Let me get over there. All right, market just opened too. Let's look at where we were before the market opened. We'll pretend like we got the ding, ding, ding. So this is where we were at. Tesla was up 2.58%. NVIDIA down, BABA down, AVGO down, Meta down. Still, though, the smaller players like Hood up almost 3%, Palantir up 3.62. It's all looking good, guys. Looks like tech-focused stuff is doing really well. Gino says, through charts don't seem to matter for Mike Alfred's stocks. What are we thinking? They do matter. It's just he provides so much extra momentum behind them that they go to much higher levels than they normally would, which is a good problem to have. I don't even know if I have backed on here. Let's pull it up. I should probably look at it. Mike told me I need to start listening to him. He's probably got a point. Make a copy. BKKT. All right, let's look this one up. And we can look at Wolf too. Yes, definitely. I have not looked at SMCI. We can look at that too. And I didn't really look at Mara, so I'll have to do that in a second. Give me a sec here. We'll do that right after backed. Fascinating. Okay, so this is really crazy. What the fuck? What do the revenues look like this? What kind of fund is this? Can you guys tell me, is this a company or it's a holding company? What do they have in it? Do they have like the infrastructure stuff? Can you guys tell me what it is? I haven't spent any time looking at this. I probably should. I get so caught up in my own world sometimes. This is just going to be an insane chart. I can't even draw. I guess I just go from here. This is probably where I want to do. So from low to high to low. I mean, I could see us going to 144 pretty easily. And then it's 144 to 948. I don't even know what to say of that. Have you touched SMCI? Let's look at Mara real quick, and then we'll go to SMCI too. And if you guys have more questions, again, the measured move I'm saying with Mara, guys, is up over here around the 40 level. We're up 5.5% today. No, it hasn't broke out. It won't even start getting some downward pressure probably until the 24-ish range. And then we have this like coinciding fib level and downward trend that goes back a ways. So I think I think it's going to be pretty easy to get to the 40s on Mara. I think it's going to be pretty easy. It's only 7.35 billion, whereas Iron is a $15 billion company now. What's going on with the Russell? The Russell's up 0.96 versus a Nasdaq that's up 0.75 and a S&P that's up 0.32. So we're seeing small caps outperform. This is market breadth, guys. It's a beautiful thing. Let's pull up SMCI real quickly. Oh my God, it's up a bunch again today. I'm going to make so much money today. This is ridiculous. Yeah, let's just go up to here. So I haven't looked at this chart. It looks like it's getting to the first fib level after bouncing off of peak volume. That red line below. I think that we can go up 580% in the next year or two. That's what I'm thinking. I think you could conservatively get it to go 282%. I've got a bunch of calls in this. What do I have? Let me see. SMCI. I've got calls for December of 2026. So I got a year and a half out. I think these are cheap. I don't know exactly what they're at today. It doesn't look like it's updated. But I think these contracts are stupid cheap. Oh, and I can't see my exchange is being weird. It zeroes out my options sometimes. But I got a lot of them. I'm excited. Once we get above this fib, it'll be the first time we've really closed above it since July. So that's pretty cool, man. Buy signals, Bitfarms. Yeah, let's look at. We can look at Bitfarms. We can look at Cypher too. I probably need to pull that one up. I need to look at the way I've got these drawn. I'm going to get rid of this one. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of this one. This is the more applicable, right? Bottom, top, bottom. So we're already above the .618. It would have been much better to buy this thing in June of 2025 at 70 cents because it is 328 now. Now, I do have targets that are higher. This is only a $2 billion company. I'm going to get rid of this one, though. But I do think that you could still go like 128%. You could go higher. It could have one of those parabolic moves. For sure. It could do that. Maybe I will leave that back. I'll just give it like, let's see here. So this thing is only 2 billion, so it could get retarded. I don't think it goes this high. It probably just doesn't. But you could at least get to the previous high. I would say a 205% is pretty easy, and maybe it makes some weird leap to 29, just because it's a small cap. If this thing goes up to that level and it's at what 20 billion or something, it's not going to be the end of the world. That does seem high though. Or I'm sorry, not 20, 15. BTSC chart looks great. ETH Treasury. I'm not looking at any more ETH Treasuries. I'm just kind of sticking with the BMNR. Yeah, I think that's all I'm doing. And then again, there's SBET and EC. I'm just probably ignoring the rest, even though you might make a ton of money off it. I just can't follow everything. Yeah, I might need to catch me later too. I think I'm tired. But yeah, everything's looking great, guys. We're making tons of money. Iron's up 12% today. What the actual fuck? 13%. It's actually stealing thunder from CleanSpark. That is nuts. Anyway, I hope you guys all do well. I'm probably going to call it here. We'll talk about more stuff tomorrow. Enjoy making a bunch of money today, guys, and go out and live your life and touch grass and have some fun, okay? We'll look at more stuff. We'll look at Ethereum and Solana and focus on other things next week. Peace out.